Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to another video. This is the NOCO Criterium in northern Colorado. So as you can see by the course map in the bottom right, this is a very technical course. And there's obviously a few tight turns, but also a hairpin turn that will kind of be a important part of the race. And but the laps are pretty long. Each lap is over a mile long. So yeah, and the start finish straight is also very long. So it's going to be a long sprint. And we started the race with 50 people, so it was also a big field. But before we kind of jump into things, let's go over some race stats. The race was just about 40 minutes long. Distance was 17.3 miles. Average speed was 25.9 miles per hour. And normalized power was 269. And average power was 238. And going into this race, I was feeling pretty confident coming off of my first win in the previous race, but at the same time my legs were pretty tired. I was kind of in the middle of a training block that I wasn't tapering for this race or anything, so sure there's a lot of other people like that as well. But definitely had some tired legs. But yeah, as far as from the competition standpoint, it was going to be a lot of the same guys as last race, and a lot of the same teams. And, so that was, Team Colorado, that's in that kind of blue and white kit up the road. And then you can see kind of to my left, Primality, they had a bunch of guys. Then, there was a lot of college teams like CU and CSU and things like that. So those were kind of the main players. And then there was, a handful of us independent guys who, were racing by ourselves. But yeah, overall it was going to be probably a similar story as far as people trying to push the pace the whole race, and it was probably going to be a reduced group again. So, in the beginning of this race, kind of my main goal was obviously first figuring out the course, because this is the first time I had ever raced here, and then also just making sure I'm near the front to make sure nothing goes up the road. So if we kind of take a lap through here, I'll kind of talk through the course. But coming into this first turn, it was a very sweeping turn. You could definitely pedal all the way through here. But the key part of this turn was to set you up well for this next turn, because this next turn was one of the tighter ones on the course, and it was also a fast, tight one. And so I kind of played around with taking this on the inside and outside, but I ultimately settled on this outside line, because the inside line was a little too tight to where you couldn't pedal for a while, or else you were going to clip a pedal. Yeah, and then right here you can hear.
Alright. Gonna go to break? Maybe in a little bit.
Yeah, Primal is trying to get me to go into a break, but I knew people would mark me from last race, but typically I try to avoid going to breaks unless I really have to. Coming out of the hairpin, one of the key things was to not accelerate too much, because it would always end up bunching up right around here. And this turn was the trickiest one for me on the course. I ended up finally getting it later in the race, but I definitely didn't take the greatest lines through there in the beginning. And then this is kind of I guess you could call it back straight, which is going to lead into this last sweeping turn before you get onto the final straight. And, again, you could kind of really take any line through here. It really didn't matter. But, as you can see, right now, coming onto the final straight, we're very far away from the start finish. And so I knew it was going to be a long sprint. I also knew that there's probably going to be some people that tried to go too early, because that last stretch is a good 400 meters, and you obviously don't want to really be sprinting until we're about 200 meters to go. But now that we know the course, let's jump ahead and look at some other parts of the race. All right, at this point in the race, things are starting to settle in a little bit, but you're gonna see an attack fly up on the left side. And this was Primal Audi, so it seemed like they were gonna try to do the old 1-2 punch with their riders, continuously attacking the whole race. So this was, kind of the first one, and this is where the speed really got up. And at this point, it really didn't get much slower most of the race after this, and this is when we started kind of breaking away from a lot of the main group. I think we finished probably with, again, like 15 people maybe out of the 50 in the lead group, which isn't really surprising on a technical course like this, but that's also one of the important reasons why I'm always trying to stay near the front, especially during this still kind of beginning part of the race. We're only about 8 minutes into the race still. It's a 40-minute crit, and typically for the first 10, 15 minutes, I'm gonna try and stay 6th, 8th wheel, somewhere in that range, so that not only will it help me learn the course a little bit better by being able to take better lines, but it'll also help me be near the front in case attack goes, or if people are trying to do a break. You're just going to be in a really good position. But then after that, once we get a little bit further into the race, you kind of see who the players are going to be, how the race is going. That's typically when I'm going to start falling back. And that's, sometimes I'm, 20th wheel, or rarely I'll go all the way to the back and just kind of coast around in the back. I don't love doing that unless I'm like really, feeling it and really tired. But because at that point, if there is something that ends up happening that you don't expect, it's going to be really hard to be able to get back into that lead group from there. But that move didn't really end up going anywhere. And so, but you can see now Primal's doing another move on the right side, but these aren't really hard enough to kind of break away from the group. So it was pretty easy for people to kind of jump back on. They're still keeping the race fast, which is good. I typically like these kind of races that it's not a bunch of just coasting around and people playing games. I prefer these kind of races where people keep it fast, and also when people keep it fast, the draft is even better. So, which is where I hang out a lot, as I'm kind of an all-around rider, but I'm definitely lean more towards being a sprinter. So my strategy tends to be to conserve as much energy during the race as possible to be ready for that sprint at the end, unless I have to get into a breakaway. But let's jump ahead again and get a little further into the race. All right, we're coming up on 2 laps to go, and at this point in the race, I'm really not looking to move up, but I was carrying a lot of speed following this guy's wheel, so I was just like, all right, I'll just keep following you. And then also we're getting a little bit of wind from my right side, the west side, and so yeah, I'm really sheltered on this side, and feeling good, and I don't mind being a little bit further up through here, since I'm only doing low 200 watts. I'm at 177 beats, which is right in my threshold range. So at this point I'm feeling pretty good. It's 2 laps to go, but we still have about 2 miles or 3,200 meters until we get to the finish. And then here we are also coming up to some more traffic. This is lap traffic from our race, and so I'm pretty happy as far as being a little bit further up, so I can maybe make it through these people a little bit faster. And they ended up moving over to the side, which was good versus that last group that we had passed, that we were just having to like weave through all the traffic. But yeah, so we're going through this hairpin, and only getting up to about 700 watts, which is good for that turn. You can see some people would pass me, coming out of that turn because they had accelerated a little bit faster. But I really wasn't concerned with that because, as you can see, always just leading up to this chicane, it was just, people would slow down, and then you could easily carry maybe a little bit more speed through the chicane, and it'd be, you'd be right back with them. So, but yeah, we are now 1.5 miles to go. I had carrying some extra speed through there, so I kind of move up onto the side. But again, I'm really not looking to move up any further than I'm at, and if anything, I'm further up than I actually want to be. So right now the plan is just to try and conserve a little bit of energy and maybe fade back a few spots and catch a little bit more of the draft as we're coming onto this really long straight. And yeah, so right now I'm kind of just looking around, waiting for something to go. And now you can see on the left side, the primal team is going. So now this is this is where things are going to heat up and speed's going to get a lot higher. So I find a good wheel to follow. And he kind of was just starting to fade a little bit, so I kind of move up over on this left side, and then also get around these two primal guys. And right now I'm in a good position. I'm about 6 wheel, I think. And now we're heading to the technical part of the course, but this is where I start getting swarmed a little bit, which I wasn't happy with, and I kind of got stuck in the middle a little bit. But still going through this turn, I'm able to still carry this more outside line, which was good, and I was able to carry some decent speed. And so now my plan, and what I've done a lot of the race, is moving up, leading into this hairpin. But other people obviously had the same idea as I did, and there's really nowhere to move up here, since there's people on kind of both sides of me. I'm able to find a little bit of a spot here, but now I'm really putting on an accelerator because I'm, like 12th wheel or something. This is not really where I want to be. And but I know since things tend to start slowing up through this area, if I put in a little bit of dig, I can kind of move up right to where I want to be. And leading into the chicane, I'm about 6 wheel, which is perfect. We're half a mile to go, and yeah, we take that smoothly. And then this is where this guy starts sprinting from like 700 meters, and I'm just like, I'm here for it, because that means I can just follow wheels. It's going to be very fast. It's going to be harder for people behind me to come around, and so I'm in a perfect spot right now. 5th wheel, coming around this last turn, and we have 400 meters to go. So I'm just going to try and hold my position and also be very patient. And I'm still waiting, and now is kind of when I'm like, all right, about 200 meters, I'm starting my sprint. Get up to in the 900 watts and able to get by this last guy. And yeah, I was able to get the win again, back-to-back wins. I was super excited about it. But let's go back about a half a lap and see how it played out again. All right, jumping back about 700 meters to go, and why this guy started to sprint so soon, I'm not sure. If you're not really a sprinter, I think you probably should have went a lot earlier than this to try and make a move to see if you could win the race. But this was not the time. This is a perfect lead out for all of us. But really the name of the game was patience on this race, and this is what I tried to tell myself the whole time leading into it, because we're still 300 meters to go, and I really executed well and really being disciplined and waiting to that 200 meters, and now finally kind of going, and this is when people are getting tired and I'm able to go around them and get the win. So really exciting race again. And this is my last Cat 4 race. I finally got my points to be able to move up to Cat 3 with these back-to-back wins and a couple other races. So my next race is my first Cat 3 road race, and it was quite interesting in a lot of ways. So definitely stick around and subscribe if you want to see that. And thanks so much for watching, and catch you on the next one.